Hi, I'm Teel James Glenn. I'm going to be reading The Red Sisterhood from Tomahawks and Sorcery, a book that's out from Airship 27. The Red Sisterhood, prologue. They saw smoke from the burning cabins before they saw the cabin itself. It curled up like a lariat through the moaning mists of the Appalachian Mountains. Then they smelled the acrid odor of the burning wood and flesh, and the horses pulling the supply-laden wagon shied. Stay here with the wagon, the dark-haired woman at the reins said to the 5-year-old who sat beside her. The husky woman climbed down from the wagon seat and handed him the traces. What's wrong, Mama? The boy asked. Never you mind, Micah. Just stay here, and if I yell, you get to your Aunt Mary's right away. When the flashing boy looked like he would protest, a sharp look from his mother stopped him. She pulled a hatchet from beneath the seat and began to move up the road around the bend to bring her sight of the homestead. The frame of the cabin was still standing, a blackened skeleton, while the two outbuildings were nothing but piles of sludge. Her husband lay face down 10 feet from the cabin door, arrows in his back. He'd never made it to the gun that she knew he kept on the porch where he worked. Little Mary, the woman screamed. Jenny, Sally! She began to move around the edges of the building, looking for signs on the ground. She cried quietly, but the fire that burned in her startlingly blue eyes screamed her pain. Mama? The tiny voice behind the woman caught her by surprise. She spun to see the twin of her son rising out of a soot-covered ghost from the center of the smoldering rubble of the cabin. Mary, the woman ran to the child, snatched her up in a hug. It was a hymn of thanks. Where are the girls? The Choctaws took them both, the little girl said between sobs. I was in the bed, and Papa yelled, and Sally made me go down in the root cellar, and then I heard more yelling, and Sally screamed, be quiet, and it was. I was so scared, Mama, until I heard you. The child looked stunned and buried her face into her mother's long black hair. Where's Papa? The woman was already running up the road toward the wagon. Hush now, sweetie, she said. We'll talk about that later. Where are we going? The girl asked. First, we're going to Aunt Mary's, the woman said. Then I'm going to get Jenny and Sally back. Chapter 1, A Journey in Time. Mary was feeding the chickens when she heard the sound of the wagons rumbling over the ridge east of the cabin. She was a small, slight woman with long blonde hair going gray. Her eyes were pale gray, and they widened in alarm when she saw her friend Anne's expression and noted the twins clinging to her with a desperation that was out of character for the self-sufficient children. Mary could tell even at a distance that the dark-haired woman's features were set in a grim expression she had not seen in a long time. Mary set down the feed basket and walked up toward the road, calling back to the house. There's trouble, Ephraim. Better get the guns. Her husband, who was on the porch carving a hobby horse as a gift for a member of their church, did not question her. He rose on his complete left leg, his right missing from the knee down, grabbed his crutch and moved quickly into the cabin. He reemerged in a moment with a fowling piece and a long rifle tucked under one arm. He stood expectantly scanning the road behind the approaching wagons for signs of danger. Indians on the warpath. They have the girls, Anne called. She reined up the frothing horses and handed the two frightened children down to the blonde woman who hugged each of them fiercely. Conjurer's eyes of her friend and volumes passed between them. She knew at once that Anne's husband of decades was dead. She knew at once the girls were not. She knew at once that the two women would get them back. It was a kind of communication, the knowing of each other's mind and heart that had been instant when they'd met almost 3 decades before on the rolling deck of a ship with blood and smoke and the cries of dying men all around them. The twins flew back to their mother when she climbed down from the wagon, and she walked toward the cabin holding on to their shoulders with a shuffling step. We should send Ephraim into the fort with them, Anne said, giving her children a squeeze. We don't have time to lose. The quartet stopped at the shaded porch to join the crippled man. It was a large party of Chickasaws, Anne said. They went off north, but they could swing around and attack the river settlement. The villagers should be warned. The two children, despite what they witnessed, found a hobby horse he'd been working on fascinating and ventured from their mother's skirts to marvel at it. The adults were grateful for the chance to ignore them for the moment. Mary put a hand on her husband's arm and looked into his eyes. You have to go to Fort Burton and let them know. Mary, he said quietly, you should come in with me. No, she said with quiet certainty. We have to get Jenny and Sally back. The two longtime spouses looked to each other's eyes, his green and clear, hers gray and smoky. There'd always been an unspoken understanding between the spouses that Mary had a tumultuous life before they met, one that had involved Anne, and that had caused her to be put up transport. She told him honestly of the child that died, still in swaddling in that life, but there had been no need to speak of more. For them, life was the now and the future, and their daughter. You can't go after the girls by yourself, he said quietly. We have to get the militia. No, she said with more force than she meant to. They'll be too late. Anne and I will get them back. The two stared at each other for a long moment. She knew he'd lost part of that right leg to a mother bear when he stumbled on her cubs at age 9, but it had never slowed him down. A man in 3 valleys around dared call him less than whole. He could outhunt, outfish, or outfight most of them, yet she could see in his eyes that question he did not bring himself to ask. Do you doubt my manhood, my strength to save our child? It appeared as if he would say it, but then he said, Mary, we've always been honest with everything that mattered. We need to be now. Why not send the militia? It will take too long for them to organize, she said as gently as urgency of the situation would allow, and they will lose heart when it will matter most. When things seem impossible or hopeless, they will only pursue Jenny and Sally until it seems too dangerous or they're too hurt. We will never stop. Never. He reached gently to touch her jaw, drawing a finger along it as if memorizing the line of it for some future sculpture. My little mother bear, he whispered with a gentle smile. I still feel I should come with you two. If we don't come back, you will have to come after us, he said. We'll mark when we can. She had thought so long ago in Flanders that she'd found and lost the love of her life in Johan. But after that, when she was transported to the New World, she'd come to know how lucky she was to find a man like Ephraim. She often felt that the years they'd had so far and their daughter Jenny were more than she deserved. If we fail the gals, they need your ire, Mary continued, and I will need you to avenge me. He captured her hand and kissed it, marveling at the strength in it, raw and rough, and strong and delicate, the hand of artisan and farmer both, and a lover. Anne had gone to the wagon and checked the harness of the horses. She removed some of the supplies and farm gear from the back to lighten it. When she'd taken out most of the cargo, she came up to the porch and walked to the twins who were watching her with apprehension. Mary, Micah, she said in a quiet, firm voice, you have to be for Uncle Ephraim until I come back. The two children raced to her side and grabbed her skirts. Don't go, Mama, they said in unison. I need you to get your sister back, she said. You have to be strong for Mama and take care of your big brother, Jason. She leaned down and kissed each on the forehead. The husband and wife could see the tightness around her mouth as the mother fought to keep upsetting the twins with her own emotions. I better be going, Ephraim said. He took one more long look at Mary, then turned and set the fowling gun and a bag of shot down on the work table next to the wood carving tools. This will be better in the woods. He moved quickly to the wagon, nimbly climbed up to the seat. Come on, young'uns, he called as in cheery voice as he could manage. We'll have to let your mom and Aunt Mary get going so they can bring Jenny and Sally back. Then he looked to his wife and added, come back to me with her if you can, but come back. The children clambered up onto the seat either side of him, clutching onto him as tightly as they could, all three of them fighting tears with equal intensity. The two men watched the wagon for only a moment, then turned with purpose and went to the barn without a word. They went straight to the back of the barn, past two empty stalls to where they both knew the thing they sought was kept. It was a cedar chest bound with iron and locked with a heavy brass lock. Where's the key? Anne asked. I lost it long ago, Mary said. She swung a heavy log, splitting maul down hard on the lock. After 2 swings, it snapped off at the hasp. I prayed it would never happen to open it again. Save your prayers for those red devils have our girls, Anne said as she pulled the trunk open. She reached in to draw out a cutlass, her eyes bright as if she was seeing an old lover after a long absence. those Indians will need. And that's the beginning of the adventure of Anne Bonny and Mary Read in the New World, to be found in Tomahawks and Sorcery from Airship 27.